Hi, I'm Miss Sarah, and this is At Home Makerspace, where every week I show you how to make fun projects with things you can find at home. Did you know that May and June are the two rainiest months of the year here in Ohio? Well, I thought it would be fun to show you how to make some artwork inspired by the rain. First, I'll share some tips and tricks for making drip paintings. Then I'll share a couple of masking techniques that you can use to keep paint away from some areas of your painting and make some rain-inspired art that looks like this. I have a lot of fun things to show you, so grab those art supplies and let's get started. First, I'll show you how to make drip paintings, which are paintings made by dripping your paint onto the paper. You'll need a piece of paper. I'm using white cardstock, some paint like watercolor or tempera. If you are using tempera, you'll want some water to thin it out, and small cups to hold all the colors of your paint. You'll also need something to drip with, like a paintbrush, spoon, straw, or eyedropper. You'll also need a place to do your painting. I recommend someplace that can get a little messy, like an outdoor space. You can also put your paper inside of an open box to help contain the mess. I'll be using a pizza box. One way to do drip painting is to place your paper flat on your protected surface. Then simply drip your paint from a few inches above your paper. And remember, if you are using a thicker paint like tempera, you'll need to thin it out with some water so your paint will drip and not plop. The result are round spatters of different sizes. Have fun experimenting with different tools and different heights to see how it changes the size and shape of your drips. When you're all done painting, set your artwork somewhere safe to dry. Then take a closer look at the patterns. You'll notice that a lot of the drips have these spiky edges, and that actually captures what happens when a raindrop hits the ground. Notice how these raindrops hit the ground and break into smaller drops? If we could zoom in and take a picture, it would look something like this. Notice all those smaller drips spiking around the outside? It looks an awful lot like our paint drips. But that's not the only way to do a drip painting. To do drip painting another way, you'll need to place your paper up and down or at a steep angle. Here I set my pizza box at a steep angle. I've attached my paper using a little bit of painter's tape, and now I'm simply dropping the paint from near the top of the paper. Now the paint will drip down in long lines. To experiment, I recommend trying different thicknesses of paint. So add some extra water to your paint to see if it changes how it drips. Once again, set your painting somewhere to dry, then take a closer look at the pattern you've made. This time, it probably reminds you of rain that's dripping down a window, like this. And now that we've mastered drip painting, let's learn some techniques that will take our rain-inspired art to the next level. Masking is a popular painting technique where you cover part of your paper to keep it from getting painted. It can work really well with something like a drip painting. So let's say we didn't want the paint in this part of our painting. We would simply mask it. To make your masked painting, you'll need some paper. I'm using white cardstock, markers or other drawing tools, painter's tape or masking tape, paint like watercolor or tempera. Make sure to grab some water to thin out your tempera, and some small cups for every color of paint. You'll also need something to drip the paint with, like an eyedropper, straw, spoon, or paintbrush. Start by using your markers or other drawing tools to draw something you want to protect from your painted rain. I decided to draw a simple umbrella, but you can have fun here and draw something under your umbrella or draw something else that could protect you from the rain, like a house or maybe a giant hat. Next, you'll want to grab your painter's tape or your masking tape. I'm going to be using some painter's tape. And if you have both, I do recommend the painter's tape because it's a little less sticky than masking tape and will be easier to get off of your paper. So start by placing a piece of tape over your drawing and then repeat this, adding tape until your drawing is completely covered. And I'm actually going to fold over my edges to make a rounder shape. You could also cut the tape to fit the curve of your drawing. I'm setting up my pizza box at a steep angle, then dripping the paint from the top. And remember, you can also use the masking technique with the other style of drip painting. Just make sure to cover your paper with enough paint that the unpainted area stands out. Make sure your painting is completely dry, then peel off the tape. And as you can see, the area under our tape didn't get painted. Have fun experimenting with the masking technique. And remember, it doesn't have to be used for only rain-inspired art. I'll be including links to some other art projects that use the masking technique. Another way to protect some of your paper from getting painted is with a technique called wax resist. You just need a crayon. And basically, if you make a drawing with your crayon, the paint will stick to the paper, but it won't stick to the crayon, meaning whatever you've drawn will be protected from getting painted. To make a wax resist painting, you'll need some paper. I'm using white cardstock and a white crayon, some paintbrushes, some watercolor, and some bowls to put your watercolor in. Since it can be difficult to see white crayon on white paper, I thought I'd make a sketch with pencil to show you what I'll be drawing. So I wanted my painting to look like a landscape with rain falling and hitting the ground and making splashes. So I've drawn a line for the ground, and below that I've drawn my splashes, which are a series of circles with smaller and smaller circles inside of them. For the rain, I've drawn a series of small lines, and I try to have them end right about where my splashes happen. So now that you can see what I've been drawing, I'm going to reproduce that drawing using my white crayon on white paper. So there is the line for the ground, and I'm going to try to have you see that line. Can you see it very faintly right there? Make sure to press down hard with your crayon to make this line as easy to see as possible. And now I'm just going to be doing the same sketch I showed you earlier. All right, can you see it? We've got that line there, we've got some rings on the bottom and some small lines on the top. Now let's grab our paints. Using your brush, paint a thin layer of watercolor on top of your paper. As you can see, the lines we made with our crayon are not being covered with paint. Instead, the white is showing through, and this creates a really fun rain painting. Once again, I encourage you to experiment with the wax resist technique. And it doesn't just need to be used on rain-inspired paintings. There are actually a ton of really cool things you can do with wax resist, and I'll include some links down in the description. We hope you enjoyed learning how to make some rain-inspired art. If you do make a painting, we'd love to see it, so please take a picture and share it with us at the library. You can do so through our Facebook at www.facebook.com/FHCPL, through our Instagram. Our handle is @FHCPL, or you can send us an email. Our email address is makerspace@finleylibrary.org. We hope you join us again next week, where we'll be exploring more about rain with some rain science projects. Hope to see you then. Bye!